Welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast, the show that will inspire you to pursue an extraordinary outdoor lifestyle. I'm Carly Brasso, founder and CEO of Miss Pursuit, and we are obsessed with all things outdoors. We're here to help you on your messy and magical journey of getting outside. The tried and true secrets, tips, and tricks for starting, learning, and advancing your skills and passion for the outdoors. Shy away from real talk? Nope, not here. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the awesome of hunting, fishing, guns, archery, and wild game are all what you'll find here. Pull up a seat, get cozy, and be ready to be challenged and motivated while you learn. This is the Miss Pursuit podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Wicked Edge. Wicked Edge is a small family-owned company who appreciates the beauty and efficiency of well-kept tools. They pride themselves on helping fellow craftsmen achieve the sharpest knife they've ever seen with high-quality knife sharpeners and accessories. You can learn more at www.wickededgeusa.com. Today we're talking about wild game cooking and recipes with Allie Doran. Allie is a best-selling author, TV personality, wild game recipe developer, and photographer. She is the creator and creative director behind the popular food blog, Miss Allie's Kitchen. Her cookbook, Venison Every Day, is a popular guide for anyone and everyone who has venison in the freezer. Hey, Allie, welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, Carly. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. This is fun.
Okay, well, your resume is quite impressive, but I want to start with you on how you started in the outdoors. So this is interesting to me. You're not actually a hunter, but you are a big-time wild game chef.
Yes. Okay, so you're correct. I got my start about 6 years ago now. My husband is an avid outdoorsman, has been since pretty much he could walk before that. Started hunting around age 8 here in PA. And then, age 12 when he could get out and harvest. So it's been a lifelong passion of his. I'm actually an equestrian, so I'm a horseback rider. So I've been no stranger to sort of outdoor focused passions that take a lot of grit. But when I met Jared, my husband, when we moved in together, I had a food blog, and what was happening, it was largely focused on healthy recipes, very much in the space. I was trying to break into like the Whole30 market, the paleo market, and but every year I would have like 60 some odd pounds of venison in our freezer. It was really poorly packaged. He would just kind of like bring it home after his harvest, kind of put everything in plastic bags and like 2 pound portions. We got mainly ground sticks and sausages, but I am definitely, back then we were on a really strict budget, budgeting for a wedding, a house, all that jazz. And I hate wasting food and it's disrespectful to an animal. And B, we were on that budget and I'm like, okay, well, we have all this meat. Why don't I try to work with it? I did not grow up eating venison or wild game. We were very much a chicken, pork, sometimes beef household. My parents were kind of health food focused before it was cool. But, I'm like, okay, this is grass fed, organic, free range. We're not necessarily grass fed, but it's organic, free range protein. Let's see what we can do with it. And the first recipes were just terrible. I mean, it was awful, tough, dry, kind of weird. When I would make things like meatballs with the ground venison, we just didn't love it. So I kind of set out on a mission to make some recipes that we actually like and that tasted good. I didn't really want to mention it on my like quote unquote health food blog because I thought everybody would come for me and you know ridicule me for using venison. So I kind of quietly published some recipes, put out some Pinterest pins, and then all of a sudden the recipe started going viral. I had this like healthier venison shepherd's pie was the first recipe. And before I knew it, it was like blowing up more than any of my other posts. I had been blogging for like 2 to 3 years at that point, and was really struggling to like kind of make a name for myself in the blogging industry. And I just decided to go with it because we had started using venison more and more in our kitchen. I felt like at that point I was like pretty much hiding that we weren't buying beef, we weren't using any red meat that wasn't venison. Deer meat, really. Pennsylvania white-tailed deer is primarily what we work with. And it just snowballed from there. So I started getting really comfortable with working with the animal. I created this little ebook. It was just kind of like a 19, 18, $17, I forget the price range, ebook with venison recipes. And it did okay for digital physical product. And I went and presented that concept to a publishing network and then published a cookbook last September. So it just kind of built on that concept. So that's kind of my like really fast intro to how I do what I do, how I got kind of interested in the outdoor space. But I just think it's a really awesome, welcoming community. I've been really pleasantly surprised with how, you know, just what a collaborative community it is and how supportive people are, even though I'm not a hunter myself. It's been really fun. So I'm excited to be here today
Well, I
and
do
talk.
think the like whole trendy food stuff right now, as far
Yeah.
as conscious eating and all of that fad, um, has really helped hunters.
It has.
I think a lot of people who would not typically be interested are now more, doing a lot of this, understanding farm to table and all of these things. Well, you want to talk any of those things, hunting and taking
Uh,
your own meat is about as raw as you can get. But I even see, there are a lot of people who are now like raising chickens, and
yes.
now, they may not be hunters, but they're now killing their chickens for more natural and hormone free and all of this type meat. So there
Right.
is a bridge between communities that you may not think of,
Right.
with hunters. So, okay, let's get going on wild game cooking. Gamey. That's all you hear. Gamey, gamey. The meat's gamey. How the heck do you keep that gamey flavor out?
Yep. There's a couple concepts that I work from, a couple of tips that I always want to give people. First one being, you need to make sure the meat is well handled and well cooked. If my husband were here, he would tell you that you need to be making sure that in the field after you make your kill, you know, you if you yourself are not comfortable processing your animal, getting it field dressed, you need to have somebody or be able to call somebody in that knows what they're doing because that can easily go south quickly. Um, you need to keep everything really clean. I know he is always like stockpiling gloves, contractor bags, things like that. He's really, really adamant about if you've got a long trek out of the woods or the backcountry, wherever you are, you're making sure, like, I know in PA here, it's still warm and he'll be out this weekend. Like, you need to get that meat cool, you need to get it out fast. So just being really cognizant that, it does start with you and it starts with shot placement. So, making sure you're practicing, keeping your skills sharp would be step one. That's a little bit more what he talks about, as opposed to what I talk about. And then once I get into the kitchen, this year we'll be processing ourselves. We were in an apartment for years, and then we've been moving into our new home. And last year we had our newborn at home with us. So we have been letting somebody else help us out with that the past few years. But once you process, it's best to, as quickly as you can, get everything kind of vacuum sealed and stored properly just to keep that freshness. Because I think sometimes the gamey taste can come from like old, kind of like dried out meat. So if you're just like freezing in Ziploc bags like we used to, that's fine for a couple months. But if you're going to be eating something like 2 years later, you're going to want to make sure it's like really properly sealed and stored. So that aside, when you're cooking, my first really piece of advice were to be to make sure you're adding some sort of acidic component to your recipes. So if you're doing um, steaks or chops, it's a good idea to use a marinade, and a marinade that has a really heavy acidic component. So I like citrus and vinegars. That's really classically what um, you know chefs and restaurateurs use in their menu development. If you look at I have a really good book, and you know what? It's in the other room, but it's called the Flavor Bible. If you look at some of the recipes in there that are developed by world-renowned chefs, you'll see that even recipes that are made with chicken or pork, they have a lot of acid in them, and that acid actually balance out rich flavors. So restaurant chefs use a lot of fats and heavy like creams and sauces like that. Here we have a heavier flavor, or a flavor that's richer than commercialized meats are. So what we do is we use maybe like lemon and a marinade, or lemon and I love red wine vinegar. It's one of my favorites, apple cider vinegar, balsamic vinegar. We use those in recipes. So um, that is why recipes that are formulated for beef, sometimes we don't like them as much as a wild game recipe. So my meatball recipe, for example, actually has balsamic vinegar in the meatball mixture, something that you find that most, traditional meatball recipes don't have an acidic component in the actual meatball itself. So those are just general tweaks that you can do. My second um, point of advice were to be going back to like steaks and chops. Do not overcook your meat. I know this is really hard for some people. My husband is actually somebody who, before I met him, preferred a medium steak. I know my mom prefers a medium steak. I would really encourage you to get used to eating your meat medium rare to rare plus if you can. Um, I like to pull my meat personally 115 degrees Fahrenheit internally to 120. You can go to like 125, but just keep in mind that when you're resting your meat, it's probably going to get up to 130. So that's like definitely a medium rare, almost to medium. But overcooking your meat can make things tough, and it brings out that iron like flavor that people are like, that's what gamey is, that like rich, heavy iron flavor. Um, that is the problem sometimes, like with steaks and chops, reheating them isn't great, because if you're going to microwave or put something back on the stove, like even in a skillet, it's gonna get kind of like hockey puck like. So I would encourage you, if you're cooking like steaks or chops for a meal, when you're packaging everything out, to save in smaller portions. Like if you can save your little like backstrap medallions just in like singular portions, so maybe like 4-ounce steak portions, and then just pull out what you need. So if there's only two of you eating, just pull out two, because you're not going to be satisfied. Um, you can always marinate overnight and cook for lunch fresh the next day. And since you're only cooking to like rare plus medium rare, it's not going to take a long time to make something in the moment. But those are two of my biggest tips to add acid and to not overcook things. I have a lot of like seasoning blends that work really well, flavor pairings in my book and on my website, that get into a little more detail. But I think from just like a really micro thing that people can do right now is just add a little bit of acid, even if it's a squeeze of lemon over something, and make sure you're not overcooking things.
Yeah.
That is, yeah,
Yeah,
that's going to
those are
help with
good.
that gaminess.
Okay, so your cookbook, Venison Every Day, is what it's called.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about the book? What will we find in the book? Who's it best for? Give us the lowdown.
So, yes, I love that question. So, Venison Every Day was created with the principle in mind that, venison can be consumed every day. It's not just for like those cold winter months in, venison stew, venison chili, venison sticks and sausage, which are traditionally like pretty heavy meals that you would eat for dinner. Probably, something that would take you all day, not necessarily all day, but something that would take you a little bit longer to make on a Saturday or Sunday. So the concepts in Venison Every Day are both recipes that are appropriate for like holidays, for entertaining, but also things that you can whip up in under 30 minutes that are on the healthier side, that your whole family might eat, even if you don't love the flavor of wild game or venison. deer meat. Um, who would love this book? You know, I would say that if you are somebody that hunts, you know, white-tailed deer, elk, moose, you would probably find quite a few recipes that you'll love. Specifically, it's for those of us that might not be hunters ourselves or that are hunters and that find that they're the primary cook in the household. I would say that it's really for them because what the book does is it kind of breaks down step by step, gives some tips like I just gave, but then some really different recipe ideas. Like, for example, there's like an Asian chop salad. It's kind of like the salad that I grew up eating, like if we ever went to Applebee's or something. It's similar to that concept, but it's with wild game. So it's something that, like, especially if you're a healthier eater or you're somebody like I love comfort food, but I can't eat it every day. Like I love salads, I love fresh meals, I love local produce, things like that. So there's something for people that enjoy those types of recipes too. But then, of course, there is shepherd's pie. There is a really in-depth recipe on roast. There's a charcuterie board pairing with wine pairing. So there's kind of something for everybody.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, I'll definitely check that out. That would be a really good. I know it's a little early, but that would be a really good Christmas gift or
Yes,
holiday gift for someone. And I've
it
actually
would.
some of my friends are already buying their Christmas gifts, which is like
I know.
beyond stressful to me. But they're like,
I
the supply chain's messed up, like distribution, all the stuff. They're like,
I
you got to
know.
order now. But that would be, and can you get the book on Amazon?
You can get the book on Amazon, anywhere books are sold, and it's available now on Cabela's and Bass Pro. And I hate to be that person, but it actually sold out as of December 8th last year, which was great for the cookbook and it was great for marketing purposes. I think that's why Cabela's and Bass Pro picked it up because the Miss Allie's Kitchen community is so amazing that they literally sold it out. And I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again this year. I have like mentioned to my publisher time and time again, like, guys, it's hunting season. We got to stock it up again. We can't sell out this year. So I'm hoping it won't. But if you want it for Christmas, I hate to be that person, but I'm
Buy
with you. I don't even have pumpkins out. Like
buy it now.
yeah, but just wait on holiday.
Oh my gosh,
Just
I
buy
know.
like 5 copies for all the outdoor people in your life, and then that'll be good.
Well, congratulations. I mean, that's a huge deal.
It
Okay,
was really fun.
here is, I will tell you, one, if you look back at my Instagram analytics, one of my posts that have had the most comments of all time, and I have forgotten, I mean, it's like 250 comments or something like
Oh
that.
my gosh.
It's nuts. Was a question about the heart. So I was like, do
Oh,
you eat the heart? If so, like, how do you prepare it? What's the deal? And literally everyone was like going ballistic. Either people were like
yeah.
a hard no, or they were like
Okay.
a hard yes on absolutely. Oh, put some garlic. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And like everyone was just
Interesting.
very excited. So do you cook the heart?
So I have not yet, but we will be this year, since we haven't been able to. It's really interesting. The person that helps us process, they're very big into organ meats, and I know they eat for themselves, and actually, I think they're dogs as well. So they have been taking that the last couple of years, which was okay with us. But this year, since we're processing ourselves, we will be not only using, the heart, but all organ meat. So I'm really interested. I'm all about it. And, more and more studies are coming out showing that the consumption of organ meats is so good for us. So TBD. I will update you on what I find. It'll probably take me a couple of years, or yeah, probably a couple of years to get a recipe out just because very detailed processing. You only get one heart. Um, but if Jared's able to fill his Joe tag and his, I think he has an Ohio NPA buck tag, which that's a lot for us three. But hopefully I'll have some heart to work with this year. But
Okay,
it'll be really interesting.
you have to keep us updated when you
Have
get
you
your
have you done it? What have you found?
No, hell no. I'm
Okay.
too scared. I'm kind of a
Okay.
sissy, Allie.
No, I get it. I get it. I really do. I've always been a really adventurous eater, which is why I think this is like easier for me. Like as a very young child, I like could not understand the concept of a kid's menu. I did not get it. Thank God my parents were so encouraging of this craziness because I would go out to eat with friends and their parents were always like, what? You want like snail or something?" But I understand, and my mom is actually much more aligned with you, and she's always like, "You're doing what with what now? What is growing on your counter?" Like,
I love it. Okay,
so
so let's give us venison quickest recipe for like an
oh,
easy weeknight meal, like just something super
yes.
basic. So for me, I go to on spaghetti,
Okay.
easy.
I
I can
love
do a
spaghetti.
decent venison chili, and by
Ooh.
decent, I'm giving myself probably way more credit than I deserve. But those are kind of our two. Oh, we'll do
Okay.
tacos. We'll do.
Yes.
We get almost all ground with our
Yeah.
venison, but we'll do tacos. But those are kind of my only three. What give us
Okay.
another little easy thing I can
Couple
like put
easy.
together?
Yes. Like love that. Okay. So my top few, we love tacos too. What we do a lot, and I need to put a venison version. I have an elk taco salad on the blog, but what I do is I just take my venison taco meat, like I have a recipe for venison tacos on the blog, and we'll just do that on a bed of lettuce with like avocado, salsa, maybe some fresh tomato, cilantro, lime juice. If you want to do a drizzle of ranch, that's fine, or a drizzle of olive oil. So it's like a really easy venison taco salad. I find that that, like, helps us stretch longer, like, stretch the meat longer. I don't know why. Probably because there's more filling things as opposed to, like, just the taco shell. I like to we're lazy for lunch, like, we do leftovers almost every day. Um, that Asian chop salad in my book that I mentioned was really good. That's an under 20-minute. Um, let's see what else. Oh, I just published a venison fajita recipe. Now that does need to be marinated, but you can marinate it the night before. And you can just like, it can even, yeah, it can marinate for like 24 hours or before you leave for work in the morning or at lunch. It just needs to marinate for like an hour. But it's a very simple marinade. The marinade is just a little bit of olive oil, lime juice, red wine vinegar, garlic, cilantro, and cumin, and you like pre-slice the venison so it gets really, really well saturated with the marinade. So once that's done, all you need to do is throw it in a pan, sear it, take it out, add some onions and peppers, let that go while you do whatever you need to do, and then turn the heat off and add back the venison, some more spices and some lime juice, and that's really good. And same thing, you can do that as a salad. You can do that as like a lettuce wrap. You can do that in taco shells, whatever you want to do. So those are big. I feel like we always go to like Tex-Mex flavors. That's like our favorite.
You're talking
Yeah,
to a Texas girl. Like anything
right.
Tex-Mex is good.
That's our favorite too. That is our favorite. Trying to think what else is really easy. I do have a weeknight bolognese recipe as well, so like spaghetti sauce. But it kind of it's a more of a weeknight friendly as opposed to like a cook all day type of shebang. Um, and then in the book, I feel like I keep talking salads, but they always are like really easy. I do have a steak salad too, which it's like a steak, blue cheese, kind of like a balsamic dressing with a little bit of dried fruit. That's really easy too, and it would use up like a steak or chop, which those are actually really fast to cook. So that's a
That
good
sounds good.
one. Um,
Okay,
let's see here.
Allie, if I
Yeah.
do so, like if a recipe is an elk recipe,
Yeah,
can I still use my deer?
you
Is
absolutely
that a
can.
dumb question?
No, it's not a dumb question. I get it all the time. You can absolutely still use it. Technically, venison applies to a lot of hoofed animals, like deer. Technically, the term venison covers deer, white-tailed deer, axis deer, elk. I know a lot of people include moose and antelope in there as well. So most of my
All of
recipes,
those.
I do. Yeah, all of those will work really well. I find that like white-tailed deer is probably one of the more gamier meats. So I think if you follow a recipe for venison and use like elk or moose, or even axis, I think you're going to like it even better than you would like using a white-tailed deer. So that's generally what I find. I actually have not had the privilege of working with moose, but people tell me it is like their absolute favorite. So my husband needs to quit his job and go on a moose hunt. That's phase 2 of the assignment here, but
I like that. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
outside of venison, what are some of the better game meats? Because I know I mean,
Oh.
like your Instagram is crazy. Like I was scrolling. I mean, I was like scrolling and
Well,
like,
thank
okay,
you.
I'm like, this girl is legit. Clearly, you are. But like duck or pheasant or like, tell me some other meats that you
Yeah.
love and that you cook with a lot.
Yes. So probably one of our favorites actually is black bear.
Oh,
We were so blessed during the pandemic when there was a meat shortage. We like basically went through half of the black bear. My husband was out hunting and it was kind of a crazy situation, but um, he ended up shooting a black bear and it kind of, I think he like the shot wasn't perfect and it kind of like wandered down and his buddy that he was hunting with and the tree stand below actually finished the shot and he's not a big wild game eater. He did take some of the meat, but we took most of it, which was so kind, so generous. So that really sustained us through the pandemic, which was great because I felt like we could like opt not to shop from the stores and leave meat for people that like really needed it. We love black bear. There, I would say that it tastes more like beef because it's fattier. Like they have more fat on them. So bear roasts and bear chili is so good. I primarily cook bear with similar recipes that I do venison because it's a little gamier than beef, but it has more of that like rich, mild flavor that beef does. The only thing with bear meat is you need to make sure it's cooked to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. It's kind of like but it's just like poultry. It's just like chicken and turkey. So don't let that deter you. There's just a couple of things I would definitely, if you want to do a bear meat burger, go to my recipe because you need to make sure you're adding like, I'm even somebody that could do no cheese on my burgers. But for a bear burger, you need some cheese. You need to add some like extra fat so that it's juicy because you have to cook it to well done. So it's not like a hockey puck. So I would say that bear is definitely one of our favorites. It takes a long time to go through a bear. So, I definitely, if we had like a bear and like a whole deer in our freezer, like that would take us probably 2 to 3 years to get through as a family of three. That being said, we don't eat out much, so it's literally 7 nights a week we're cooking. But I've been getting really into duck this year, and I am just like in love. That's almost the opposite when you're cooking duck. When you're cooking duck breast, you want to make sure it is not over medium rare. So you want some pink in the middle. So those same tips would apply that I gave with venison steaks and chops. You don't want to cook it like I would pull at 120 degrees Fahrenheit internally. Um, but I think duck is just a wealth. The great thing about duck too is it's very easy to render out duck fat, which can be used for like pastries and baking, can really be used directly as a sub for butter. So I actually have like little mini um, bread loaf pans. And what I do is I put parchment in there, and after I render out my duck fat, I pour it in there and I chill it in the fridge or freezer, and you cut it in half, and it's literally like it's a half cup of butter. So it's so great. And it's literally a stick of duck fat, just like you would buy butter from the store. So that has been really fun. I am diving into pheasant. My dad is shipping me back a bunch of pheasant from South Dakota. Uh, and I haven't had a ton of chances to work with it. I probably worked with it under 10 times. But I made a really good like curry salad, like chicken salad with pheasant, and it was like off the charts. But more there, I don't have as much experience as I do with bear and duck and obviously venison. But yeah,
Golly. I'm going to come and see you in Pennsylvania,
please do.
and you're going to cook like a wild, totally awesome meal
I would
for me.
love
And
to.
I will sit there and drink red wine and chit chat with you. And then I'll do the
Perfect. That's all I ask for. I'm always asking my husband or anybody that's here. I'm like, I don't need help. Just chat with me and we can drink wine.
There you go. And then I will do the dishes. So I don't cook, but I can do
Oh,
dishes
that's music to my
good.
ears. Oh my gosh, the first 3 years we were together in that apartment, and I had my blog, and I was actually working for, like, an allrecipes.com. So I was cranking out anywhere from 4 to 8 new recipes a week, and we didn't have a dishwasher. It was pretty much like 2 hours every night that we would just sit there. My husband is a saint. I mean, it's gonna pay off for him hopefully one of these days when he can
One of
quit
the
his 9 to 5 and hunt for a living, but I'm like, wow, anybody that volunteers to dishwash has a place in our home. Can move in, they can stay.
I love it. Okay, Allie, another thing you've mentioned a couple of times, freezing the meat or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And you have said, I believe 2 to 3 years has come out of your mouth. My question is, how long
yeah,
can I leave my meat in the freezer before it goes bad?
right.
Like
I
forever?
would say, and I'm all about, I don't love saying this on social media because you know how people are. They can get a little feisty. But I mean, meat shouldn't smell bad. So when you defrost it, it shouldn't really smell bad. That being said, I think I just used the last little bit of ground bear meat, and it would be 3 years old this year, and it is like it was vacuum packed in, like, a little sleeve. Um, it was a little like, the color was a little oxidized around, like, the outer layer was a little bit, like, less red than the center because the it oxidized a little bit just with a little bit of oxygen that gets in there. So I would probably say I wouldn't have used it past like its 3-year deadline, but we have a very cold deep freezer that is pretty well packed. Actually, a well packed freezer is going to keep things more cold. So you're better off kind of like stacking all of your meat together in one area. It will stay colder together. But I would say like 2 to 3 years. That's with vacuum sealing. So I definitely would recommend. We have a food saver, and I know a lot of people have complaints because the bags they're like astronomically expensive. That being said, like the refill
Hmm.
baggies that you use, but I've not had one single issue with it. I love it. We use it for a lot of things. I even vacuum seal and freeze like venison chili, tomato soup, whatever, if I have excess, and it works great. If you are just like putting things in Ziploc bags, I think you're going to be disappointed after like 8 to 12 months. Things are just going to start to get like freezer burnt and kind of weird. You're going to see I can't even say that word today, oxidation, much more quickly. So I would definitely recommend vacuum sealing if you even if you don't have a deep freeze, just make sure you're, like, packing it together. So, like, use the bottom, like, layer of your freezer to, like, get everything in there really tightly. So that will help you out.
And then, so you said, but if we're just in Ziplocs, I throw it in my freezer, maybe 9 to 12 months.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know that it'll necessarily go bad by 9 to 12 months, but it's gonna get a little freezer burnt. It might start to oxidize, and, when it does do that, you do get more of a gamey flavor, so you're not gonna be as happy with it. One tip I do have, though, when defrosting, go ahead and as soon as you can get it out of its packaging, whether you're like if it's vacuum sealed, you wanna run it under a little bit of cold water just to, like, kinda loosen it out of the packaging. Put it either on a bowl or on a plate that is lined with a paper towel. That will absorb some of that old blood, and that also helps to cut down on the gamey flavor. That's a really big game changer, and that's for any type of meat. If you buy like beef in bulk, which I know we don't have it in bulk, but we have a little bit right now from a local farm. I'll even do that with beef or whatever. You want to make sure everything's like your proteins are pretty dry when you work with them.
Ooh, I like that. I didn't know that. Okay, when are you going to go hunting? Do you have no desire to hunt?
No, I do. I have been saying to my husband, I will probably start when our daughter is 1. I'll probably kind of like just kind of shadow along with her. as I mentioned, I'm an equestrian, and I was riding up until I was about 7 months pregnant with her. Probably pushed it a little more than I should have and wound up with a little bit of a pelvis injury from that and running. So it took me about a year to rehab, and now I'm back in the saddle. And I mean, as you know, when you're running a business, you have like little ones at home. You're trying to maintain some sort of a social life, family life. It is most of my free time now goes to riding. So it's one of those things where my husband Jared and I are really passionate about like doing what you love even as an adult, because I know it can seem silly to like take time for yourself. For me, if you gave me the choice of hunting or being in the saddle, I would pick the saddle. It's like for you guys, that passion, like that is what I love to do. I'm just at home. I'm a better person. I'm a better mom. I'm a better business owner when I'm able to ride. And as much as I would love to tag along with Jared, I think he needs that alone time. We're both pretty extroverted, but he just finds so much solace and like, I don't know, getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and freezing his little booty off in the tree stand. But hey, it works. I mean, he's the same thing. He's so happy. So I would hate to encroach on some of that time. That being said, I am definitely interested, and I would say like upland hunting would be more on my speed, a little bit more quick pace. I am not the most patient person. I am very well matched in my marriage with a little bit of grounding that I need. So I don't know how much fun I would be in a tree stand all day. But yeah, so there's my answer. I think I would love to get into it, especially as a family with Maddie. I'll probably go and tag along if she has interest, which I mean, I'm sure she will. She was already in the backyard last night. Dee 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 deer. So yeah, but yeah.
Today's episode is sponsored by Wicked Edge. Wicked Edge is a small family-owned company who appreciates the beauty and efficiency of well-kept tools. They pride themselves on helping fellow craftsmen achieve the sharpest knife they've ever seen with high-quality knife sharpeners and accessories. You can learn more at www.wickededgeusa.com. What are your must-have items? Every time you leave your house, you've got to grab these
Oh,
couple of things.
oh. Um, I'm like a weird person. I like hate to be without water. I'm always thirsty. Um, and I mean, just right now as a new mom, if I leave the house without diapers and wipes, I'm gonna need them
Yeah,
if
of
I
course.
bring them. But for me, I mean, I like to have sunglasses. I'm a low maintenance gal otherwise. Um, but I love like every time I get in the car though, there's a podcast on usually. So
The Miss Pursuit.
not necessarily, yes, absolutely. Miss Pursuit podcast.
Okay, what is one of your favorite products right now? Usually I say in the outdoor market, but
Mhm.
you're a little quote unquote different than some of our guests. So what's
Yeah.
kind of your thing right now that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm loving blah.
Well, this has been for years, and I am somebody that is like not a product junkie in the kitchen. And people are always really surprised when they hear that. Like I have an Instant Pot and an air fryer. I only have them because previous clients have asked me to use them. I don't use them. I get by with pretty much my three really high quality cast iron skillets, um, cutting boards, and then the thing I'm just like really loving right now is I just got a new boning knife, but really, really high quality knives. I have Wusthof, and I just got a really nice Wusthof boning knife. I think Hank Shaw with Hank Hunt Gather Cook actually recommended that in one of his blog posts, and I just like went through and swiped on his affiliate link and grabbed it, and it's phenomenal. So it's a Wusthof boning knife. I have the Icon series, and I think it's a 7 inch. It's just really wieldy and it's really nice. I've been loving that. I've been using that deboning and just kind of breaking down duck, because I've been doing that like every other week and it's been super great. I will encourage everybody out there, no matter what knives you have, you need to be using sharp tools because a dull knife is a dangerous knife. So take care of your knives. They'll take care of you. But as far as like product, especially like social media based, I know you mentioned wine earlier. I have been really obsessed with the winery. It's called Pasalaqua Winery. They're kind of like near the Sonoma County, and some of their grapes are grown in Sonoma County. But they have a really great mission to create wines that work really well with wild harvested or killed foods. So the owner of the winery is a big outdoorsman, really big into foraging, using and raising local produce. So the wines are just really great. The their Tuscan blend is like an absolute triumph if you're into like kind of bold red wines. I think it's the Rickards Zinfandel is really great for pairing with game meats. So, and
Did you say Pasalaqua?
yes, yeah, I'll send you the spelling. It's kind of a mouthful. It took me a while to be able to
Okay,
say. I hope I'm saying it
Pasalaqua.
right still.
Okay, there.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
for the audience, so Pasalaqua. And
yes,
we'll put
and
that in show notes.
yes, it's really, really cool. We'll have to link to them. I'm just really impressed, and it's really great to find a winery that's, really interested in creating a beautiful pairing for like beautifully crafted food. So that has been really fun for me. I'm always interested in exploring new wines. My brother lives out in San Fran, so he's in Napa a lot. So we try a lot, and I've been really impressed with that.
Awesome. Okay, that's good to know. What did
Yeah.
we miss? Have we missed anything that you're like, oh my gosh, we
Gosh.
gotta say blah blah blah?
I don't think so. I just so appreciate you having me on. I'm excited. You guys always have such great content. I love getting your emails, and it's always like an easy click through to read. So, but
Thank
I don't
you.
think there is anything. I am doing a cookbook relaunch because it did sell out last year in October. So if any listeners already have the book, make sure you go leave an Amazon review because I'm doing some fun incentives and giveaways. I've got some free stuff. And I also host online cooking classes. So for people who feel like they need a little bit more explanation, or you just are looking to like switch up date night, everything is hosted through Zoom. There's always a cocktail or like wine pairing. I think we're going to do some sort of a wine tasting and wild game holiday dinner. So something that you could make for like when the in-laws are in town, really impressive, pair with some Pasalaqua wine. That's coming up, but in a few weeks, we are doing venison chili. So you said you had a passable chili recipe. So come take the class. We're going to do chili, cornbread, guacamole, and whiskey sours, one of my new favorite cocktails. So it's always like a really fun menu, lots of great takeaways. It's really fun. People a lot of times have their camera on. We just kind of cook together, very laid back. They're usually on Wednesday or Thursday nights at like 7 o'clock. So for me, after bedtime.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's just a
of
fun
course.
way to hang out. Yeah, after
That
bedtime
sounds
to
fun.
hang out.
Okay, that
Yeah,
keep
I'll send you a link.
yeah. Okay, keep us updated on that, and I could send some of that out in the newsletter.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
On that. Allie, thank you so much for coming and sharing not even everything you know. I know this was like a portion of it. I am really excited to get the book.
Yes, I'm sending you a copy.
Oh, thank you. And I'm thinking that would be just a really good, easy holiday gift idea for people.
It is. And it's, I don't know about you guys, I have a really, really large family. So gift options are usually under the $30 mark, and usually on Amazon it's on sale right now for a little over $18. So it's perfect. You can even throw like a cute, like little cheese knife or something with it. Or, if you have an outdoorsman, it's like a bigger span, you could pair it with like that boning knife that I just mentioned in a cookbook. So there's a lot of options for like little gift basket ideas.
I
So,
love it. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much for being here.
Oh,
We love
no,
having
thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Make sure to follow Allie on Instagram at miss.allie'skitchen and head over to misspursuit.com and sign up for our newsletter. Thank you so much for listening to the Miss Pursuit podcast. Stay outside and stay tuned for next week's episode.